Glacier rivers are mostly added to by the melting of the glaciers once things warm up. Of course, we're still pretty early in the year. We've got some caribou. Did anybody say stop? Just get into the habit of saying stop first, because I might assume I'll get tired eventually and assume caribou is you're talking about caribou. Out there in the river bar is at least one caribou. So if you follow the trajectory of the river, it kind of these are braided rivers. They spread out, and the farthest braid from us that hugs that green slope, there's a white thing, blondish thing, just to the left of the river. That's a caribou. I'm going to get the camera on it if you want to put your screens down again. It's not meant to take the place of seeing a wild animal with your own eyes, but it does help you see it a little better.
Branch going sort of 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock.
So let me zoom out so you can kind of see where we're looking.
Right at 9 o'clock.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
And then zooming in on the caribou.
Somebody's got to
Yes, I can see it.
¿Se puede ir de aquí? ¿Quién sabe? Está largo. Sí.
It's big. Can you see it?
Yeah,
Do you want to see it?
Looking out there, how did they know?
Oh, yeah.
Look, there's two.
I know.
I think
They
that
travel all together in a herd. Otherwise, they'd be very susceptible to predators, and so they break up into smaller groups like this, a few individuals. Cows will usually form larger groups with their young. We're going to stop here at the Savage Check Station and hear a few words from a National Park Service ranger. It's his 100th thing, but mostly it's the same park that's been around for 100 years, probably thousands of years before it was even a park. We want to keep it that way, as close to that as possible, as close to pristine as we can, so that other people can come and enjoy the spectacular scenery and the chance to see these beautiful animals moving through it. The caribou we're feeding, that's kind of one of the things that distinguishes them as caribou, is that they're always roaming, always moving in their feeding habits. So even though they're found here today, tomorrow they'll be miles away perhaps. Always moving in this region. Mostly the wintering grounds are out at the base of Denali, which would be at 9 o'clock-ish. That's where most of these animals tend to head, at least for winter. And then the cows, the females, will stay on a little longer, giving birth to their young out in that direction. And baby caribou are born usually May and June, way out west. Whereas the bulls, not having anything to do with the rearing of the young, make their way out here to the eastern portions of the park. So the first 40, 50 miles or so of the park, we'd be more likely to see bulls, males, grouping together in bachelor groups to kind of keep an eye on one another. Oh, somebody's losing their lunch. Thank you. These bachelor groups keep an eye on one another so they can size up the competition for when the breeding season actually begins in October and November. That way they don't usually have to fight. They already have a good idea who the biggest and strongest individuals are, because they've been traveling with those animals for the last 10, 11 months. But the bulls stay apart from the females, because like I said, the females are in the calving grounds mainly. As we head towards our turnaround point, we'll be more likely to see groups of cows and young animals. Maybe get a chance to see a little calf in the bargain. Those are the cervids. But they're the only member of the deer family that both sexes, males and females, develop antlers. Antlers are a temporary structure on deer. One last look at the fox, and then we'll go on and let this other bus.
Yeah, oh, I know, but this one doesn't want to go at all.
Try wiggling or up the window itself up and down. I'll have a look at it at a rest stop too. Make sure it's working okay. Use your thumbs kind of to push on the frame too. So they're pale now, they're kind of blondish almost. Kits or pups in the den, and apparently there's a den right nearby. I haven't, that's my first fox in that area, but I've heard about them this summer. And they'll go out on patrol for the morning, and they might find a ptarmigan or a ground squirrel, and they'll kill it, and then they'll cache it. They'll bury it under a light layer of
Good morning. How are you? I'm good. You're doing good, Tundra.
This is good. There's hope for me.
I know.
I heard somebody in your group got ill.
Sometimes they do some good. For example, here in Alaska, there's a tale told about how Raven came and stole a young maiden. Here he comes flying by us on the left. Even. Raven stole a young maiden from a native village and intending to marry her. Well, her grandmother was a powerful shaman. She had magic. And she was upset about this, of course, so as Raven jumped into his canoe with the young maiden and started paddling away across the big water, grandmother sent her 2 pet grizzly bears out after Raven. Well, they couldn't catch him before he got to the water, and so they started slapping at the lake shore, trying to create waves big enough to swamp Raven's canoe, but Raven was smarter than them. He got his magic spear out and threw it towards the bears. And it wasn't expected to hit them. Instead, it glanced off of the first wave and lodged into the second wave, creating and solidified them, creating the mountains we have around us. The first wave was the outer range, the lower mountains we have, and the wave that the spear stuck in